Dreamers! Today I've decided to do my first Ninjago related video. I've been an avid fan of Ninjago ever since the pilot came out, so I think it's about time that I do an opinion-based video about one of my favorite TV shows. For this video, I asked Reddit what their unpopular opinions about the show were, and I got some really interesting answers. I'm going to be giving out my takes on the opinions that were given, and just exploring a little bit why I feel that way about the show. As a notice, there will be spoilers in this video. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Opinion 1. New Kai isn't actually all that different from old Kai. I think this is an interesting one. I know that a lot of people seem to prefer the original version of the ninja. I've noticed that people have a lot of differing opinions about it, and one of the big things was the change of pace in some of the characters in the show. My opinion about Kai specifically is that they have changed the direction of where they're taking Kai's character in the story, and that's why he seems different. It isn't that they've changed his character itself, because I feel like Kai used to be a much more featured character like season 4 and season 5, and some of the, like the pilot and season 1, like he was one of the main featured characters and was even considered like the leader of the team or the protagonist by many fans. So I feel like the fact that he's been more, I don't want to say a supporting character, but more of a like supporting main character of the ninja, and hasn't been featured as much as lately, he's become kind of like more of a side character. And as the others get more spotlight, he just is a little bit, he seems different. I think that's why a lot of people think of these different. But despite that, we see the overall hot-headedness, goofy, and fun personality that he's always had. So I'm gonna go ahead and agree with the fact that New Kai isn't that different. He's just been taken in a different direction. Opinion number 2, Garmadon should not have been brought back. I can definitely see both sides of this opinion. On one hand, I really liked the way they wrapped up Tournament of Elements and Possession with Garmadon's character, so I can see why bringing him back kind of takes away from that. But I also think that bringing him back explored a different version of him almost, which kept me really engaged and interested. I thought that at the beginning in like season 2, he used to be kind of goofy. Like he was, I mean, obviously he was still a great villain, but I thought he was a little bit silly and had more of like a mwahahaha vibe to him, and that was charming and gave the show like some of the fun elements of it that it had in earlier seasons. But the version that was brought back in season 8 was different. He was darker, I want to think, and in some ways scarier. Kind of like the version we saw from him in the pilot and like the mini episodes that were before, like that came out like after the pilot. And I thought that was really interesting to see. Like in the earlier seasons, he still had those like fatherly moments with Lloyd where he was obviously still evil, but this new Garmadon literally like almost killed Lloyd, while that version of Garmadon kind of was hesitant to do so until he was possessed by the Overlord. And in the newer seasons, like March of the Oni, Lloyd had to dig a little bit deeper for those, like, father-son moments when they were, like, in the darkness cloud and stuff like that. So, yeah, new Garmadon kept me engaged. So I would say I don't have a problem with him being brought back. But I can definitely, like I said before, see both sides of this opinion. Opinion number 3, Sensei Wu became a little bit boring after seasons 4 and 5. I can definitely see where this opinion comes from. Personally, I do kind of feel the same way, only for me it happened a little bit later, like after season 9 instead of as early as seasons 4 and 5. This kind of relates back to what I said about Kai. Wu's role used to be so much more prominent as their mentor, and as they've kind of taken over leading the team themselves, Wu has become a little bit less relevant because they're not as much in need of a mentor. I think his character has become less interesting and entertaining overall because he had a prominent role and arc in season 9 that isn't exactly part of the story anymore. We're not wondering about that kind of stuff anymore. So I definitely can see where this comment came from, and I kind of agree with it in a way, but I would like to mention that I liked him in Master of the Mountain. which is one of the more recent seasons. And I really liked seeing him with Cole's journey there, and that was really interesting to watch. So I do kind of agree with this opinion, but obviously we still love Master Wu. Opinion 4, March of the Oni is my favorite season from the Oni trilogy. This is definitely an unpopular opinion. For me, and at least from what I've heard vocally from many fans, March of the Oni is not the favorite. And in my opinion, it was a little bit rushed. I think it had a lot of potential, and it should have been a full series instead of like a film or a special, whatever y'all want to call it. And that they could have explored so much more about the Oni and what their presence in Ninjago actually is, instead of just seeing them march up and have a fight with the ninja. I really think they could have dug a lot deeper with that plot. I adore Sons of Garmadon and Hunted, which are among like my top 5 favorite seasons, so March of the Oni was a little bit underwhelming for me and isn't one of my favorites, but I still think it was solid, and it wasn't bad or anything. I just didn't see it as on par with Sons of Garmadon and Hunted, so it's definitely not my favorite of the Oni trilogy, but I respect this opinion. Next opinion, season 14 was good. The island was solid. I'm gonna be honest though, there wasn't anything that really stuck out to me. I just watched it like just a little while ago, and if I'm gonna be frank, I kind of already forgot what happened after like getting into Seabound and stuff, which is really good, by the way. Again, no means bad. It was good. It was Ninjago. I still love it, but it just hasn't stuck with me. I'll go ahead and say that it's fine, but it's definitely not among my favorites, and I didn't find it that memorable. Next opinion, the new designs are better. I definitely like how the new designs are more detailed and unique compared to the other designs. I know there was a good portion of the fan base that was not too excited about the change. But I never really had a problem with it. I mean, obviously I had to adjust, but I wasn't annoyed with it. I think the thing with me is that as somebody who started watching Ninjago when she was 8 years old, I just, like, the original designs, when I think of every character, is what sticks in my head. So that was definitely an adjustment, but I didn't have like a problem with it. The only design that I didn't like at the beginning was Kai's, because I'm gonna be honest, his hair now kind of looks like a Hershey's Kiss instead of that cool spiky fashion he had before, but it's grown on me, and I have to say, like, along with the new designs came better animation and choreography, so that is definitely a plus, and I would say that they're overall sharper and more unique. I love both those, so I don't have like a super strong opinion about this. New Kai, Jay, and Zane are still good. This kind of goes back to the things I said about Kai and Wu, and the different directions that their characters have taken in. Personally, I agree. There hasn't been anything that's made me like any of the characters less than I have or do currently. I think that some of the stuff they did with those characters was a little bit silly, regarding Zane, Kai, and Jay specifically, such as that really stupid detective episode surrounding Zane and Prime Empire. I really didn't like that. But that didn't make me dislike Zane more, that kind of just made me dislike the writing of that episode. But overall, I liked seeing Jay take the spotlight in Prime Empire, and as well as some of his moments in Seabound, and Kai and Zane have still had their great moments, and are as enjoyable as ever. The Lego Ninjago movie is an objectively good film. This opinion added more detail in the original comment and said, and I quote, "The only argument people bring up is the differences between it and the show, when that's not a problem. It would only be a problem plot-wise if they were in the same continuity, but they're not." I have to say, I agree. To me, the movie was one of those silly movies that you could just go see for fun. And since it wasn't meant to be a continuity as the show, as mentioned, I didn't have any issues with the plot. Obviously, it's not a movie that I watch over and over again. It's not in my favorite movies or anything like that. But if I were to sit down and watch it, or sit down and watch clips of it, which I do sometimes to refresh myself on topics like that, I would enjoy it. Just like I did in the movie theater. I sat down, ate my popcorn, drank my slushie, and watched the movie and enjoyed it, just like I usually do. It was fine and fun. It wasn't the best or anything, but it was fun. Like, I was fine watching it. So, yeah, I'm gonna agree with this one. Season 11 wasn't that bad. This is pretty unpopular. Season 11 definitely is not a very well liked season compared to all the other seasons, and personally, I do think it was a lower point for Ninjago. I don't think it necessarily, I don't think I necessarily dislike it. I just feel like it doesn't measure up to the rest of the season, which I love. So it was a little bit disappointing as such. But the fire chapter, I gotta admit, not very well written, had a lot of filler that wasn't relevant, and despite that, I still found myself enjoying. Like, I didn't want to quit the seasons or anything like that. I was gonna sit through it. I am in agreement that it is one of the weakest seasons, though, and definitely could have been handled better than it was. The ice chapter was a little bit weird. Like, I feel like they could have picked a better, direction to take it in, but I don't hate it. But it is one of the weaker seasons, so I'll leave it at that. And last but not least, Iron Baron was amazing. Also very unpopular. I enjoyed Hunted a lot. It's one of my favorite seasons. But I was never a big fan of Iron Baron. I just don't like him that much. I didn't find him all that interesting, and his motives, to me, weren't as compelling as they were infuriating, because he wanted to kill dragons. For glory. Which is disgraceful. And he killed the Ultra Dragon, so screw him. But all pettiness aside, he isn't a villain that really sticks out to me as an antagonist or as a character, and it wasn't really a highlight of the Oni trilogy. I just personally didn't vibe with his character that much. So, I mean, if you like him, cool, man, cool, but it just wasn't, he's not one of my favorites. So those are some of my takes on unpopular Ninjago opinions. If you want me to continue this series, feel free to submit your unpopular Ninjago opinions in the comments, or feel free to add any requests for future Ninjago videos, which I am perfectly happy to make because I love Ninjago. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for visiting my dream world.